what I really want to talk about is something that I think is essential for someone that's not skilled in this field of research, maybe not a medical professional, someone more like myself, somebody that's interested in a certain indication. And in particular, we've been covering, in the recent past, a lot about the brain. And so this is just even a small portion of what's out there regarding the brain and some studies that have been done to look at hyperbaric oxygen and its effects on the traumatic brain injured, the PTSD that may result from that or result from some tremendous stressful situation in a person's life. One of the areas where you see the research doesn't draw a positive conclusion has a lot to do with the sham. The sham in this field would be like the placebo, where they're sort of faking that they're not giving them hyperbaric oxygen, and then they're giving, that's one group, and then the other group they're giving them a certain protocol, and it's clear they're getting hyperbaric oxygen. When you go back even maybe 2 decades and you look at some of these studies, what you find is that the sham group very often, and there's a group out there called the UHMS, that's the acronym for the Underwater Hyperbaric Medical Society. Yeah. So UHMS is out there, and what they determined was when you provided 1.3 atmospheres as a sham, that was not considered hyperbaric oxygen. And so as a result, the medical community, the FDA, all the approvals that occurred for certain indications, and there's some 14 of them that were approved or cleared by the FDA, that they assumed in studies that went beyond those 14 that if the sham group got 1.3, it wasn't hyperbaric oxygen. So when the group that had 1.3 had some improvement, and then the group that had some other protocol that would be more, where they considered it hyperbaric oxygen, had some improvement as well, they basically said that, it was sort of in someone's head, maybe contrived. And so there wasn't a real benefit for hyperbaric oxygen. And then the final conclusion would be is that this is leading nowhere. We need to do more studies. And so be aware of that when you're looking at the studies and you get to the end and say, oh, well, maybe it's not that great. When it comes to brain injury and PTSD, the one thing I'd like to say is that when you look through a lot of the research and you talk to the clinicians and individuals that have dealt with traumatic brain injury and PTSD that have gone through the protocols of hyperbaric oxygen, that everybody sees improvement. It's very rare, and generally those cases are where someone didn't follow through with the whole treatment plan. So better sleep, loss of anxiety, loss of depression, the ability to get off many of these psychotropic drugs, which more recently are in the news as maybe never being proven to do what they're intended to do. Part of that is the suicide rate increasing as a result of some of those drugs. In fact, that's one of the warnings that many of the drugs have. And so, reduction in the drug intake and all these other great positive effects of hyperbaric oxygen have been proven, hands down. And so we can go into this deeper and deeper and deeper, but you're going to find that's the bottom line. So what Research Rundown is going to now shift gears is we're going to go into some of the other indications that hyperbaric oxygen helps so that you can understand some of the fundamental mechanisms that occur in hyperbaric oxygen. So when you look at the research, there's just the one thing I think it's important to point out is that even a little bit of pressure will help. So when you see these low pressures, and I think that was the issue that the industry dealt with, is that when you get to 1.3 atmospheres, you're actually pushing oxygen, even at normal air, into the blood plasma. And so that's actually having an impact. And although it may not be the full impact that you want as quickly as you want it, there is an impact. So So that should have never occurred. It should have never been the reason why we discounted, these studies. These studies should have been embraced, and really, when you look at a placebo group or the sham group, it should be the ones that are doing nothing. And so the fact that someone sits in a tank and you fake it, and that's going to be your sham group, when you're actually not faking it because you're giving them pressure, has really been the problem. So just a word to the wise: when you look at this, I think from a layman's standpoint, it's not so obvious. So be aware of that, look for that, and research rundown. We really look forward to getting in some of the other indications, because inflammation is the key, and as we have said early on here, there's a strong chance we all are going to die from inflammation, whether it's caused or worsened by that mechanism. And hyperbaric oxygen is the most powerful anti-inflammatory that's been around since the beginning of life. So we look forward to doing that, and when you look at the research, please, word to the wise. Thank you.